We spoke about Nottingham Forest. We're going to hone in on Nottingham Forest, who have been a revelation even this season. Quite unbelievable season they've had, and it's not over yet, that is for sure. And how much of it is down to this man, Nuno Espírito Santo. They host Manchester United tonight, Simon. It's 3rd versus 13th. And at the start of the season, if you said on the 1st of April, it's Forest Man United or it's Man United Forest, and it's 3rd versus 13th, I think you could have been forgiven to think that it would be Man United who would be 3rd and it would be Forest who were 13th. It's not. It is quite remarkable what has happened. And now Nuno has said it's changing. And he's talking about the definition of the Big Six and who makes up that Big Six. It has been changing, he says. The gap no longer exists in such a predominant way. Us as clubs, besides the Big Six, have been able to improve and compete. It's a question of recruitment. And the competition itself makes players reach a higher level when they get to the Premier League. It's about the quality of players, the managers, and the quality of the game. So there we are, Simon. He is saying the gap no longer exists in such a predominant way. What do you think of him saying that?
He's not really saying a lot, is he? It's about the quality of managers and the quality of players. And the clubs with the most money get the best managers and the best players.
No, but you keep on saying it's a moment in time.
Yeah, I do think it's a moment in time. The reasons why we talk about these things with such enthusiasm and such focused thinking is because it happens so rarely, frequently. So if we see Nottingham Forest, and I hope that we do, in the top 4 this time next season, we can start making the argument about the changing of the guards. Right, because what we tend to find out is that the clubs that are finding opportunities are when the other clubs that are atypically used to these opportunities are declining and aren't performing at the level that we've accepted or expected from them in the past. But we expect them to come back round again. Now, I want the changing of the guards. It was the Big Five in the formation of the Premier League in 1991, of which Tottenham was included one. Then it's been the Big Four. Then it's been expanded to the Big Six. I don't know if the clubs themselves think that way of it all. Perhaps they do. Certainly, the media characterisation of who the big players are, movers and shakers are, is a characterisation. But to suggest right now is like doing what everybody does, which is managing it in the moment, judging it in the moment. Is it interesting that Newcastle and Nottingham Forest are knocking on the door of being in and amongst the mix? They're not really winning anything. Newcastle have won the Carabao Cup, fantastic.
And Brighton and Bournemouth.
But they're not. Brighton and Bournemouth aren't winning anything.
No, but look, before a ball was kicked in anger this season, before we got the season underway, the Big Six to me: Manchester City, Liverpool, Arsenal, Chelsea, Manchester United, and Spurs. What makes you so confident that next season, Nuno, it was great, cheers, and Spurs and Manchester United will be back?
Because the data and the statistics tell us that over the last 32 years. And unless we're going into a completely unprecedented cycle where we see also-rans becoming the staple diet, which means that they will become the Big Six and we'll go around with a different Big Six, right? But the bottom line is we're not seeing that. We're seeing people dip in, dip out, have successful seasons, and then possibly have a season in repose or recess and then come back again. I'm not wishing it. I'm not wanting it. I'm not suggesting it's beyond the wit of man.
No, I know.
It doesn't change.
I know.
I would suggest to you that by the same argument that constantly finds its level in every conversation, those who spend the most money, those who have the biggest wages, eventually are the ones that dominate in perpetuity. So at this moment in time, there's a few exceptions to that. Manchester United are playing hide and seek with themselves and making it as difficult as they possibly can for themselves. But more often than not, we're still seeing Manchester City, Arsenal, Liverpool, Chelsea. We've got one outlier in there. We've got people knocking on the door. Good, fantastic for the Premier League. That's the last thing we want, is to see who we know is going to get relegated, which is a tragedy that we do at this moment in time because it's a constant phenomenon, which is teams coming up are being relegated. And the Nottingham Forest situation, which, by the way, was completely outrageous, because to come up from the Championship and be sanctioned for having less losses is an outrage. In fact, if you come up from the Championship, you should be allowed to have bigger losses because you're trying to compete in a league which already has established sides.
You backed Marinakis and everything that he said.
I backed him at the time. I didn't back him when he spat at people, but I backed him at the time when he was deciding to make decisions, spending money, listening to the football, all the football mafia going, this lunatic owner, look what he's doing to Steve Cooper. They're not saying it now, are they? They're not saying this lunatic owner. They're saying, look at his football club, and not one part of the credit appears to be landing at Marinakis' door. Because Marinakis has put the dough up, the ambition, the aspiration, and the manager. And Nuno Espírito Santo has done something that I didn't think he would do, and seems to do well at parochial, provincial clubs like Wolverhampton when he took them out of the Championship and made them a competitive side in the Premier League, and what he's done with Forest.
Right.
Couldn't do it at Tottenham though. Maybe he wasn't given time.
On the 1st of April, is it dangerous for Nuno to say, yeah, the order of the big six, it is a changing?
Well, it's only dangerous if you don't want your words to come back and haunt you. And if you live by that mantra, people will never say anything.
Yeah.
And then people will spend their entire time, which they do anyway, and go, "Gotcha. See, you said that."
Yeah.
Which you like to do to me sometimes. But the fact of the matter is that I think if you're going to be bold and you're going to call things out, then why not change the guard? First of all, if you can see it, you can be it in some people's minds. But if you can conceptualise something and you believe it's an opportunity and you've got the framework to build on, why not?
Yeah.
And who wants the same order?
Yeah.
Who wants Man City?
We
winning
want a
the league all the
different
time?
top order.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But I bet you that we will find that the normal order will be resumed, and there'll be a knocking on the door from Aston Villa. There'll be a knocking on the door, unless, of course, we change the PSR rules. If they're going to say, after what Chelsea have just done to PSR, if they're going to say, oh, it's a farce, it's ridiculous, what have we achieved here? We didn't help Reading by taking away the ability to invest in teams in Premier League. We're not going to help anybody by doing this. Fill your boots. If Tottenham want to have governance and sustainability, up to you, but the governance taken away, then you might see Forest, then you might see Villa, then you might see Newcastle going, actually, we can do what timing has not allowed us to do, which allowed Chelsea and Man City to do, which was buy their way into positions of influence.
I'm with you on it. I'm with you on it. Change the profit and sustainability rules. I'm with you on it. Finish with this as we hit 12 o'clock. Forest, Manchester United. Who wins it?
Where is it at? Forest?
Yeah.
Man United.
Okay. You're so good at predicting, aren't you?
I know.
That's a banker for Forest then.
Dude.
That was our pick for this week's Real Deal with Selco Builders Warehouse. For the latest special offers, pick up this month's Real Deals in branch or view online at selcobw.com.
Jim White and Simon Jordan. Monday to Friday mornings from 10 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.